Tell me what your plan with this one wild and precious life, okay? Tell me what your plan with this one wild and precious life. That the words I just said, you've already forgotten. I'm going to be with you for a long time. I'm going to make you take this quote out. I'm going to make you find these words, and I'm going to make you find a day where you ask yourselves, okay, tell me what it is. What is your plan with this one wild and precious life, okay? Someone here, her name's Diana Niad, okay? And she is a marathon swimmer. And she wasted 30 years of her life. 30 years of her life she wasted. No athlete, no human man or woman has ever accomplished this in their whole entire life. This is swimming from Havana, Cuba to Key West, Florida, non-stop, okay? She tried this in her 20s, in the peak of her life. Right after she missed the Olympic trials, she goes in her 20s when we're all roaring, the best we can possibly be, and she tries 4, 5, 6 times, and she fails every time, okay? Life goes on. She uses her swimming background, much like I've used wrestling, to bring her the rest of her life. Here she goes on and she becomes a world-renowned swimming broadcaster. She gets to travel the world. She gets to see awesome things. She gets to be around the sport that's brought her all the fame and attention, and she gets to do what she loves every day. So now in her late 50s, about 25, 30 years later after that failure, coming across that canal that she couldn't do. Again, with all the fame and fortune of being a big broadcaster, she gets to go to special celebrity events. She gets invited to an event on stem cell research. And the guest speaker is a real-life Superman. His name is Christopher Reeves. And Christopher Reeves he was on every publication. He was on every world. Maybe one of the most well-known people in the whole entire world, most famous, had everything going for him. One breath, one heartbeat. His dreams were crushed. He's on a horse for leisure. He's out on a ride. And one moment changes his life forever. He drops to his neck, and right then and there, he's a quadriplegic for the rest of his life. A quadriplegic is someone who can't move any parts of their body other than some facial expression in the way that their verbal ability to talk. One minute he went from on top of the world to being this. In a chair, forever, with a tube hooked up to his neck. And when he talks, he can't talk like I'm talking right now. He has to fight for his words. He doesn't sip for air like I'm sipping for air quickly. He has to gasp for air. So as he's talking, he's gasping for air. To get 5 or 6 words out is incredibly difficult for him. Diana has this opportunity at this event. She sees him backstage. She's in awe. She moves closer towards Chris. She doesn't know what to say. She sees him laying there, gulping for air, and blowing her away. Chris says and asks her, as he's curious about all elite athletes, as she was an Olympic swimmer and she tried this journey, what is the essence of your success as a swimmer? And guess what she said? This is going to be a recurring theme. She went blank. She couldn't answer. The room went cold. She tried to tell her story the best she could. She was the Olympic qualifying event. She knew before the race even started that she had 0 chance of winning. But her friend Suzanne, who's her training partner, comes up and tells her, listen and look at me. This is what she tells her, because you're going to need to remember these words forever. She comes up to her and she shakes her and she says, Diana, what are you thinking? Wake up, you're in a fog. Get on those blocks, blast off, touch that wall. Don't look around. When you come to that wall, close your eyes, close your fist. Say to yourself, I couldn't do this a fingernail faster. And if you do it and say it, mean it like that, you'll never live with regret for the rest of your life. Chris stares at her. And he asked her, have you actually lived that life? And she said, hardly. Just like this, Chris's handlers, he has a whole army of people who have to attend to him. They're putting makeup on him. They have to help him get into his chair, get on. He's getting ready to be the guest speaker. They swoop him up, and Chris is gone forever. She never gets to see him again. And then two things stick with her in that moment. Number one, the fragility of life, how in that moment Superman went from being that person gulping for air. And here I was face to face with a person, Pierce, who'd only known me for a few seconds. And they had questioned everything about my life. Bix. She's back in the hunt. Back to the place she loves. She's a broadcaster. She gets to go cover this event. She gets to travel the world. They're in Sydney, Australia. And she's down in the pit with the pool announcers. Her particular broadcasting company doesn't have the rights, so she's off of the beaten path a little bit. The #1 race in swimming is the 100-meter dash. It's electricity. The room, bam, there goes the whistle, the pageantry, all the Olympic, the aura, everybody's racing, and she's in here with all these young announcers, and it's their first Olympics, and I tried to blow this picture up. She calls him Dudley Doolittle or something. She's this beautiful, handsome man. He looks at her and he says, isn't this as good as it gets? And again, she goes cold, and she's back in that fog, and she realizes in that moment that she's been a full-time spectator for 30 years in a life that she hadn't been living. She doesn't say goodbye to anybody on her broadcasting team. She's in her high heels. She walks out of the Sydney auditorium. It's very foggy. The arena's over here. She walks all the way around here, and she comes out to the bridge. And in that moment, she found her moment that would change her life. What is it you're planning to do with your one wild and precious life? She tells herself she's going to recite this every day and use this as her wake-up call for the rest of her life, okay? All right, you can open up your eyes, look at me now. She's now 59 years old. She's going back after this thing, okay? I didn't preface this with this, but we're talking about something that no man or woman has ever done. You imagine walking out to the shore, the blackest, deepest, darkest sea for 110 miles with no end in sight. She's going to go out there and she's going to attempt once and fail, attempt twice and fail. 4 times she fails. 48 hours, 47 hours, 41 hours she invested and failed and didn't get there. Some things that were happening. She was bitten by box jellyfish that would bite her face. She was approached by sharks. There's a stream. The Gulf Stream pulls east, and it pulled her off track on one of those times. And what happened is as you guys know, she used plenty of these strategies that she had before. She used her sing song. Remember, this is one that I use as a warrior. Hers was the Baton Rouge song, something about Sweet Home Baton Rouge, and she would sing it 100 times over, 200 times over, and every time, like a robot, she's singing the song. That goes dry. She starts counting in all her foreign languages. There's nothing left in the tank. All hope's lost. There's a team out there with her on this boat, and there's this lady Bonnie on the boat. She blows this whistle, and she calls Diana over. Diana comes over, and this is the moment that changes her life, Pierce, okay? She tells her, how are you doing? And she nods. She gives her the nod, the done nod. She says 5 more strokes. She puts her left arm down. She puts her right arm down. She puts her left arm down. She puts her right arm down. She puts her left arm down. And there's 5. Bonnie Hand says, just 5 more, just 5 more. Here she goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She barely moves. And on, just 5 more. Just 5 more. Just 5 more. Bonnie's kind of gleaming now. She feels something changing in her, and she's saying, keep it up. So just 5 more, and over and over and over. Next thing you know, the sun comes up, and there's new hope. The wind drops. The temperature rises. She's no longer singing those boring songs. She's going into a distant self by herself. She's singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. For some of you guys, it's a little silly, but it's a Zen-like moment. It's a song. She sings it over and over, and she's Zen. And now she's humming it. And she doesn't feel the strokes. And now she feels the sun. And now she feels the good in the water. And now she's being swept across the sea like she's not even swimming. Bonnie calls her back over one more time. Everybody on the whole boat, the whole team erupts in applause. Bonnie's in tears. She tells them, I'm gonna make it this time, because I went from being an athlete to being a citizen of the planet Earth. And when she brought herself, with just feeling and touching that water and feeling that sun and putting 5 more strokes together, that was the first time that in her whole life she had been one with the planet. And she had misled and miscalculated everything that life was about until that moment. And she told her, this swim's bigger than us. Swim's about living that one wild and precious life. And here we go. Victory. 52 hours, 54 minutes. 110 miles, 110.86 miles on September 2nd, 2013. She made it to Key West. First, Superman. He had lost all this ability, but his lips still had superpowers. Second thing she learned was about how wild and precious her life really was. She found her wild. I use a wild animal like a tiger when I think about this, and I talk to you guys about this a lot. She found her wild in that ocean, and she put herself in the ocean as a person on the planet, not as an athlete. And when she became one with the ocean, she swam like a dolphin, and she could swim 200 or 300 or 400 miles if she needed to. She could feel the pulsing. She felt the wild. She became wild. And the other thing she did is she found the preciousnesses of life. And there's an old Buddha saying, there's a turtle who lives 100 years underneath the water. And he comes up to a little hole in the surface once every 100 years, and he sticks his little nose out of there and he takes one big deep breath. And there it is as he goes down for another 100 years. That's how precious that life is to him. So the everything. And I want you guys to find this somewhere deep inside of you. Find me saying this somewhere, but I want you guys to ask yourself this tomorrow, in 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years, and maybe even 30 years. But I want you to show me and tell me, okay, what it is you plan to do with your one wild and precious life, okay? Because if you don't, you'll be looking 30 years, you'll be looking 10 years, and you'll be looking into regret. Just make sure that you live life, everything you do, one fingernail better, each day at a time, okay? Take Naya Diane with you, take Superman with you, take the fragility, take the fragileness of life, and take that with you, and you guys just own your moment every day, all right? 3 big claps. All right, I'll see you guys on Thursday.